Mr. Wodowski.
Who are you talking
Seeing
to?
me right now. Yes.
I just don't want to.
That's totally 100% acceptable.
I did it earlier. I didn't address it.
So she's in contract.
Okay, good. Now it's working. We're live.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. But that's what she wants.
All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to the Monday, March 3rd Board of Trustees meeting of the Village of Flower Hill. Please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Ms. Curto.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Seconded by Trustee Franco. All in favor? Aye. Welcome, Ms. Kerr. First public hearing is a site plan review application for Lamani Restaurant LLC.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Andrea Curto. I'm from Shelley Teagan, Toronto. The office is at 333 Wellington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Mr. Albinsky asked me to come in today to give you an update on the site plan application. We appeared before your board in August of last year. At that time, we did have expert testimony explaining that there's sufficient parking on site and in the surrounding area to accommodate the existing parking demand for the restaurant, which includes the outdoor pavilion space that we're trying to legalize. We did speak about a gentleman's agreement between the two property owners. Property owner next door allows Lamani to use the rear portion of their parking lot for parking. But we didn't have a license agreement or a lease or anything like that in place. The mayor asked us to get that. We are working on all the terms of that. We have pretty much come to terms on all business-related aspects. The landowner wanted to make sure that his tenants were happy with this arrangement. There's going to be a cut-through in the rear. Madison Reed does stay open till 7 o'clock. So we wanted to make sure that there was sufficient parking for them. We took care of that. I just gave Mr. Albinsky a draft updated valet plan, which shows the cut-through, which shows the additional parking stalls that will be provided in the rear for the valet parkers. It does make a lot of sense. Valet parkers. It does make a lot of sense to have that cut-through, because then you won't have to go around.
I commend you for that, because this way no one has to drive.
Nobody has to drive around. It makes for a much safer situation. And now we're gonna have something in writing that we can submit to the board as well. I think that within a month, we'll be able to submit the updated valet plan, because we've given it to Marvin Naddis, who represents Michael Cohen, the next door. Marvin Naddis.
N-A-T-I-S-S.
Yeah.
Yes.
1 T, 2 S's.
Yes.
Wasn't sure. how many
Okay,
it's-
it's Marvin Naddis who?
Who represents the property owner next door.
Thank you.
Michael Cohen. So they have to review the updated plan, confirm with us that they're okay with it. Peter Albinsky has to review it to make sure that no additional variances are triggered with that cut through.
Right, because you're going to lose a few parking spots. So now, even though the cut through is a great idea, you're gonna need more.
We may,
Yeah.
we may not.
Right.
If they're overparked, we may not. This is a very new plan, so we're gonna review it together and make sure that no additional variances are needed for the neighbor next door. If they do need additional variances, obviously, we'll make that part of our application. We did file an updated BZA application in October. We're gonna have to further amend that to give you an updated site plan as well as an updated valet parking plan. The reason why we updated it in October was to reflect the correct number of seats. I don't know if you remember that.
Number of seats.
Number of seats for the restaurant. And that's it for now. I don't have any other updates. If you have any questions, we've been working diligently to try to get this agreement in place and to update this plan.
Has the restaurant been using the pavilion at all?
They don't use it in the winter months. They're gonna start using it in the spring.
Okay, because you know that's a problem,
Yeah,
because you don't have a valid permit for it. So
Right.
I would highly recommend that your client does not use the
I will.
pavilion until it's permitted.
I will let them know that. Of course,
I think that was the agreement we had earlier.
yeah.
Anybody else on the board have questions about this pavilion?
About parking. So when are the typical hours of operation for the Madison Reed building?
So Madison Reed has one night, I think that's late, it's like a 7 PM night. So that's why we are only using the rear of the premises, so that we can leave spots for their patrons.
The bank obviously is closed.
Correct. Right, so Madison Reed was the only one, and they wanted to make sure that there wasn't gonna be any conflict.
Mhm.
So that's why that's.
Is the space that's back there still vacant? I know, because my wife used to go when it was a gloss lab for her name. That's so it was.
I don't think he has any vacancies. I don't-
No, the nail salon opened
Yeah.
back there.
Yeah,
No, gloss lab, they closed.
they closed.
Oh, they closed and they pulled the sign.
Yep.
They're fully gone.
Oh.
Oh,
Nobody told me.
yeah,
So
Jack.
they closed about,
I didn't miss
Did
them.
they just
I did not.
no, about
miss the,
9-10 months ago. I know there's Madison Reed in the front, Provident, and then
I didn't know there was an empty tenant.
gloss lab.
So with the plan I just got, it leaves about 21 spaces still not being used by Lamani's.
Which would be
It's
fine
usually-
for
yeah.
Madison Reed.
It's more than sufficient, yeah.
Right, for that hours.
And presumably, when they retrieve cars, they're coming back through that.
Yes, they're not going down
Obviously,
Northern.
to queue up on the entrance side.
Yes, that's correct.
I have no other questions. None? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad
Have
we
a
got
good
you in and
evening.
out in record time.
I know, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Next public hearing is on proposed local law 1 of 2025, amending chapter 190-5, solid waste. This is something we've discussed at previous board meetings. And really the two key things on the meeting, on the local law here is one, we're going to tie dumpsters to building permits. So that if you have a building permit, you don't have to now pay as a resident, you don't have to pay for a separate dumpster permit. And the dumpster permit will be coterminous with the building permit, so you don't have to come back in and renew a dumpster permit.
So I can get a refund on my pod.
I can't hit.
This is for dumpsters. We'll talk about your pod separately. We'll get there, Mr. Janice. Sorry. So this is, first it's about dumpsters. The village will lose a very small amount of revenue, and I think that number, Suzanne, was what, $2,000 or $3,000, I think the number was? Right. So it's a plus for residents. They don't have to now deal with a secondary permit, come in, et cetera, et cetera. So that's good reason number one. Number two is we've had some issues with pods that even though they're permitted, there is a permit for them. They have stayed on properties for significantly longer than 30 days. And the whole concept of a pod is, my deputy mayor will tell us, because he has one in his lovely driveway right now, is this to be temporary in nature.
Can't wait to get rid of it.
Thank you. There are people who want to keep a pod on their property as long-term storage. And what's great about pods is they are designed to be picked up and taken away with your belongings in them. They're just people who don't want to pay for that service. Therefore, they leave the pod on their lawn the whole time or on their driveway. So that's why we're knocking this down to 30 days. Pods are really meant to be temporary, not a full-time storage facility on someone's street. So that's the two key adds to this lovely local law that we currently have. Do any of my trustees have any questions?
So if I were to want to put a dumpster just to like. empty
Clean out the
basement,
house.
Right,
You would,
that's a separate.
you
permit.
would then get a regular dumpster permit still.
And what's the length that's provided for the?
That's a good question. I
It's
don't,
30 days also, right?
Yeah, renewable 30-day intervals.
And what does that cost?
You can buy several months at one time.
That's what I
That
think. for
costs
There's
my-
no discount.
$100.
Okay.
That's $75? A month, for the
I
month.
mean,
I don't know the number, is that what?
Well, I just paid 100 for my pod.
It's
so-
either 75 or 100.
well, if Frank paid the 100, then there's your answer.
Yeah, might
Well,
be
that's
100.
for the pod.
No, yeah,
It's for a dumpster.
Oh, that's right. There's Deputy Mayor Premium. I'm
Correct.
sorry, I forgot. We charge extra.
I guess what I'm trying to work out is you made a distinction between a construction site and a non-construction site.
Right.
And I think it would be fine, it would be more acceptable that you would see a dumpster on a construction site. But if you have a dumpster just on a non-construction site,
Mhm.
it's annoying, I think.
It
And
is.
so I'm wondering, is 30 days, is that too lax? Should we be shortening that period?
No, I think sometimes if you're doing a clean out, you might come over, if it's, let's say it's a loved one's house, you might be coming over multiple weekends. You might not be taking the whole week to clean the house out. I think 30 days gives enough, because also you'll have it delivered, and that weekend, because something comes up, you're not doing the clean out, and now you've lost a week. So I think a month seems fair. We really don't have too many dumpsters that are
Yeah, I
sitting
guess,
around
well,
too
it's
long.
shown that the income isn't there. Great.
Right, and it's really just it's to have the fee to remind people that they should get that dumpster gone. Otherwise, they gotta pay another fee.
Yeah.
It's an impetus to make it go on. And a month is fine. We don't have too many, Peter can attest.
I mean.
We don't have too many
I mean,
dumpsters.
to rent the dumpster probably for the month is more expensive than.
Right, so I think, most people's motivation is, I don't wanna pay for another month, and I don't wanna get it off my driveway.
Right.
That's, we have the rare thing that hangs on, so it's really not prevalent.
That's about that. Any questions to my left? Nope. No. Any questions from the public? I don't see anybody. All right, I'm gonna make a motion. Oh, Jeff's gonna say I have to do the secret motion as well.
I would suggest that we could include a secret determination that this would be a type 2 action, having no significant impact on the environment in conjunction with whatever motion is being used.
Then I will make the motion to adopt this local law and the secret motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seems to pass. Thank you very much. Motion to close the public hearing portion of the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing closed. Thank you for your service as always. See, it was time we made up for last month.
Yes.
So I apologize for last month. This
No,
month, we
that's okay.
totally,
It was interesting in the end.
but I appreciate you with the
Thank
timing. Look, the timing last month wasn't fair to you, so I'm glad
That's okay.
this week we did it much better.
All good.
Public comment, no one here. I will then move to the next portion of the meeting. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read said minutes? Are there any questions, changes, comments? That being said, no, I would like to make a motion to approve the February 3rd, 2025 Board of Trustee meeting minutes. Seconded by,
I'll second it.
that would be Deputy Mayor Janice. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
I'm sorry, can you tell me who did that?
That's
That'd be Deputy Mayor Janice was the second.
You would.
Treasurer's report. I have in my hand the motion to make a motion to approve claims in total of $181,667.05. As always, everybody reviews this, including now the person who has made the request to double check that the expense met their expectations. Does anybody have any questions?
Who is that person?
If it was a highway department thing, it would be Rich.
Oh,
If it
right,
was-
right, right.
The other day, Susan bought something for court. she would invest and sign off on that. Marla signs off on hers.
So I see on here, there's, for the state of the town address.
Yes,
How many people from,
2.
The lunch is $45, the steak is free, and the
Yes.
lunch is 45.
Yes,
I only know that because I had to pay
so
for my
you
own.
and I did too?
yes.
Oh, okay.
We've always gone.
Yeah, no.
What day is that?
Next
May,
Friday.
14th, yeah. No, not this Friday, right?
Next Friday.
14th,
Next
yeah.
Friday. The day,
11:15.
the day after the golf course formally opens up. I think
course.
Thursday is the informal.
timing.
I got an email from the golf course operator today. Yes.
It's early.
Well, they're opening up the rooms and.
Oh, you mean
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the course.
I think the
itself.
catering hall was just rebuilt. The room or something. No? Updated? No? I haven't erroneous information?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I want those cookies.
I know, I was getting back.
I want them. All right, I'm going to make, if there's no other questions on this, I'm going to make a motion to, I lost my papers here. I'm going to make a motion to approve the claims in the set amount from earlier, seconded by
I'll second.
Miss Claire Dorfman. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And I believe that Max will,
I do have a question. Suzanne, what rate is TD Bank paying you
For what? Which account?
for your,
CD,
is it your savings?
our general fund, which is checking, it's like 2 point something percent.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty generous.
You know what, right now, at least we're getting something, in the previous bank that we were in, First National Bank, we weren't getting anything on our general fund, so.
You know, I switched to TD, so I was just wondering what they're,
Yeah.
what they're paying.
being investigated for money laundering?
I know nothing.
I think night class is 4 and change now.
My class, I think, was, when I printed out the report for the month, was like 4.1.
Yeah, just a little over 4, I think.
Isn't TD Bank under investigation for some money laundering?
Okay, I mean, it was,
The fire department's pulled out.
they did?
Hmm.
I wouldn't worry. I don't know what's up. What bank doesn't have money laundering somewhere?
Four-leaf, the
There must be
four-leaf,
money laundering.
It's
Just
the
go down, go down to
four-leaf-
20
the four-leaf
$20
bank.
and you're paying the fine.
They're all
Or pay
corrupt.
money laundering. Okay.
okay,
Here's like 20 grand.
next.
Okay, like cash,
I know, right? No.
Carla, for the tentative budget presentation, I do not need to make a motion for that, do I?
No, just for the tentative budget hearing.
The budget, right, so the first thing, we're gonna have the budget presentation next Monday, the 10th at 6 PM here at Lovely Village Hall. We will be meeting on the tables down below as we traditionally do. Next, I need to make a resolution to hold the annual organizational meeting at April 7th, which is a Monday at 7 PM. Can I have that seconded by somebody?
That just came as our village meeting.
I was saying, isn't it?
It's our annual,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
it's the annual
I thought so.
organization meeting. It just, you have to make a resolution to have the organization meeting during our board meeting. It could be a separate meeting, but we do it during the board meeting. Seconded by, I'll say Ms. Collins, because she has the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Next, new business. We were discussing this last month, but now, thank you, Jeff, we have a formal local law in your hands on your desk to help our code enforcers do their job. And basically what we're asking to do with our code is to disallow people from fully tarping their vehicle where they are obscuring their license plates. Because it is assumed if you don't have a license plate car, a car with license plates on it, it is not registered. And we don't allow either, or we wouldn't allow either with this revised village code. So yes, people still can cover their car, but we need them to not obscure their plates. so that our code officer can do their job.
And if I may, the additional proposed change here would be, previously, the code only precluded unregistered. This will add that it's unregistered or unlicensed. The second additional concern was that previously, it had restrictions on where these types of vehicles could be parked in the yard. And I think Mr. Obinsky was confirmed, his concern was that we should add that if they're going to be parked, they have to be parked on an approved paved surface as opposed to being parked on lawn, even if it's in the back, because of the look. And finally, it creates a presumption. So if the vehicle is totally covered and you can't see the license plate, we will presume you don't have a license plate, which avoids the issue.
Right. And as some of our trustees can attest to, there are some residents who might park cars in their backyard, possibly using their car yards as used car sales lots. So we're trying to stop that behavior.
I have a question. So it says here RV. So what if you have somebody come to visit you and they bring their RV and they're like, oh, we'll sleep in our RV. How long can they park it in your driveway without a problem?
Well, the answer is no.
Yeah.
So 0. Now, in the case that someone might, it's to prevent people from permanently camping in a lot.
And what's the difference of an RV? So, now you have these Sprinters, these Mercedes Sprinters.
Well, we
which
say
are-
van, camper, RV, sleeping bus, or other vehicle designed or used for living or sleeping.
Okay, so
Now, in the case where there's some sort of urgency or some temporary thing where we've had the occasional ask on a one-off basis,
yeah, I
we
think
have
there should
kind
be
of
some,
on a one-off basis, we've done that. I remember someone had do you remember the RV that came from Europe that looked like a mini,
No.
about 3 years during COVID? There was, they brought it over on a boat from Europe. The guy was driving around the world and it looked like a mini, like a truck trailer.
Oh, really?
Yes, but in Europe, that's what they look like. And they were there, they were dealing with the family's estate, and he needed to park for a day or two. And we're like, okay, as long as you're not going to leave it here for a week.
Yeah.
So we made a gentleman's agreement. He did it. Then he drove to Walmart some nights because Walmart allows overnight parking. And it worked out well because we had a complaint from the neighbors. So it's, and I think you had that issue by your house. Somebody needed to park an overnight or something. Wasn't there an RV right by your house a couple months ago?
In my driveway, yeah.
It was your driveway.
It was last summer. It was a Sprinter. My friend comes from Colorado. And
Okay.
When he stays, he likes to stay in this,
Yeah.
I don't know
Listen,
why.
it's
But it's like for 2 nights.
1 or 2 nights we're not gonna have.
Yeah.
But we can't. I don't want to start putting.
You don't want like
code.
your in-laws living in your driveway for like vacation.
Maybe I do.
You don't have room in your house, so you put an RV in your driveway for your mother-in-law.
I guess,
A resident that has a car in the garage that is covered with a tarp
In the garage is no problem.
is no problem.
Yeah.
But if they keep the
legal.
garage door open all day long, all the time,
It's legal.
it's fine.
It's your private property.
But if you buy an RV, you can't park it in your driveway.
Just make sure.
Which is
I-
fine.
Even-
a certain relative in Central Village has a couple classic cars and they cover them with tarps all the, they are garaged. And
So
and
we
you cannot-
actually-
and you cannot see the license.
So there's actually a code that the little red convertible has to be surrendered to me. Because I want to buy that from your mom. And I know it's not-
What kind of car?
They get asked.
She has a Carmen Dia convertible,
Oh,
and she
wow.
also has a really nice pickup
We have
truck.
a 53 Chevy pickup.
Yeah.
And then we have a 71 Carmen Ghia. But Quentin Tarantino made the Carmen Ghia with all this. It's the car he uses in all his movies, like Brad Pitt's driving Kill Bill. So.
My sister had a Carmen when I was young. Very
And she
Occasionally
was the
you will,
original owner too. so.
you will see Max's mom driving around the village.
You want to buy my
sometimes.
82 911? It's red.
No, thank you. If there's no other questions on this, I'd like to make a motion to pass this new local law. Seconded by,
I'll say that.
Mr.
Public hearing.
sorry?
This was on new business, so it wasn't.
We didn't-
Oh,
we didn't have-
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. All right,
Yeah.
my mistake. I'm so excited about this. So, all right,
For public hearing.
we'll make a motion. Do I have to make a motion individually to have this for next month? Or do all three in one motion?
We'll do all three of those.
Okay. That's number one. Item 2, the proposed local law for site plan review and special conditions. I will turn that over to either Mr. Albinsky or Mr. Blinkoff.
Well, this would actually be to both of us, I think. So,
Thank you.
and to Ms. Wolf. So we met, and what we'll be drafting and circulating to the board would be local laws that would really be just updating the code, so as to be a bit more particular about the manner in which site plans can be developed, whether or not, the type of density the village is comfortable with in terms of multi-unit developments. There are some locations in the village where there's some space where that might be considered. And we just want to review the village and start thinking about what kinds of things the board might want to have as controls. Additionally, in the village code right now, there are specific provisions that talk about passing costs for consultant fees that the board may require when assessing applications before the board. Most municipalities, when there's a complicated application that comes before them, might reach out and hire their own consultant, and they'll pass the fees for that consultant on to the applicant. And we just want to make sure that this board has the ability to do that. So we'll be looking into it. And then I'll just turn to Peter for one other thing that Peter was thinking about, that Mr. Albinsky was thinking about, that makes good sense, is consider the possibility of looking to an average density arrangement within the code. So Mr. Albinsky, wanted to expand on that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's a pretty common zoning issue that comes up where you do a yield map, basically, based on the zone that it's in, and that gives you the number of houses you can build, so to speak, and as opposed to spreading it out over a larger property, you concentrate it in one area and leave the rest of the space open. So it's been done on golf courses and other places, based on what they feel is the market for housing.
So there are no applications for anything in front of the board. We're just trying to get ahead
Right.
of anything
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we've noticed some gaps
Larger
in our,
properties that might go that direction.
we've noticed gaps in our codes. This is really just addressing those gaps.
So in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some drafts for people just to look at and consider.
Okay, so I'm hoping all three we can have a public hearing on next month. So I will make a motion to hold a public hearing on all three local laws. I guess there'll be local law 2, 3, and 4 of 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That would be Trustee Frankel. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Next, it took a while, but we finally got our sewer study bid results back. Unfortunately, we only got one result back. Fortunately, it's from Cameron Engineering, now known as IMEG. Don't ask me what IMEG stands for, but it is the same person who I guess was our low bidder almost 2 years ago. Gary, 2 years has it been? Longer? Seems about 2 years ago. Yeah. It's to do the same exact work that we asked for last time. And again, the goal of this sewer study is to find out what we don't know on the costs and physical limitations of potentially sewering the village. The very good thing about this is the bid came in at $87,000. And we have a New York State legislative grant for $90,000. So this project will not cost anything out of our village budget. So that's the very good thing about this. Now, my question is, what do we need to do to accept this resolution?
You award it.
The village can, a motion can be passed to accept the proposal.
But I'm gonna ask, who did respond?
Everybody did. This is the
D&B
only
did.
response we got. So we opened it up to the public. We post on the website. I believe Ms. Wolfson did send a letter out to previous respondents and possibly,
I sent 4. I sent 4.
and
So H2M didn't
Yeah,
respond?
did you send to DMB?
I sent it to DMB.
That's
and I
weird that they
sent
didn't
it
respond.
to
This is there.
Antonelli, and I sent it to Lero, and I sent it to Cameron.
Wow.
So it would be a motion to approve the contract and award it to Cameron, subject to an approvable agreement being prepared for the mayor to execute.
I will make that motion. Thank you, Jeff. Seconded by, I'm pointing to Gary.
I'm not comfortable actually seconding this. It feels like, why wouldn't we want to find out what competitively bid is on this? I mean,
Well, we had it, I mean, it's a public bid. I didn't,
right, it's one, but what if the other guy came in at 80,000? Wouldn't we be prepared to
but they didn't. And we had it open for a very long amount of time. We did contact all the previous bidders. No one chose to bid on this.
Do we know why, Randall?
that just feels weird.
Especially that
Yes, Ms.
DMB
Olson.
didn't, because this is their bread and butter. This is what the firm does, basically. And same with,
Marla, do you know why
H2M.
no one else,
DMB probably didn't want to do it because we took the business away from them for the.
They're not that,
We gave
trust me.
triple there,
Number one, and they probably would have been, they were last time way out of bounds on their price. Lero, I have no idea why, I didn't, follow up. I will also say, I felt comfortable only because they were the winner, we were gonna give it to them. We only had 2 last time, which was, D&B and Cameron, the last few years ago. And there was a significant difference in the price. And they're reputable. Peter, you have any thought on that?
No, I know, I mean, to rebid it, you may get the same results. If you're not gonna bid it, you're not gonna bid it.
I mean, if you remember at the last time, we chose not to go forward because we didn't have the funds for it. But this time, since we have the grant for it, this works well for us. We just chose not to last time move forward because it was just a budgetary issue.
How does this number compare to the last two?
Last one was 85, this one's 87. We could have really just gone with that, but we did this for that reason. We bid it out to see if someone was gonna come in better, more competitive,
Well,
but They did.
No one would have held their bid for 2 years.
no, but they came in, they only.
Right, no, I mean,
$2,000.
I don't know, maybe they just looked at their old bid and said, we'll just bump it up a
They
little bit.
probably did so much work already that others.
Right.
So.
this is who Manhasset used?
Sorry?
This is who Manhasset used for their sewer feasibility? They were the firm that did the feasibility study for
Cameron?
Manhasset that now,
According to the letter, yeah.
is that right? Is it for the downtown or their?
So I'm just a little, I'm just a little worried about Cameron because they've gone through a bunch of changes, including being bought out. And,
Yeah, but Steve Hagiani is the partner on this. I know Steve.
okay, well, as
He's
long
the
as we
same,
feel like
it's the
we
same
got him.
people.
Yeah, I just, I know the Baxter Estates had a terrible time, and maybe that was Baxter Estates' experience. And maybe that was while they were doing the transition. Maybe now that they're fully transitioned, things are back in order.
Well, we can ask them for references, current references, and we can call them,
I
right?
can check.
I mean,
What we say
Sure,
about Manhasset?
we can do that.
Exactly, if she has Manhasset on here, so. Right, you said where they put on the top, performed several similar sewer feasibility studies throughout Nassau. These studies include, so were they the firm, were they the firm that did Manhasset for their sewer feasibility?
assume-
No, DMB is the engineer for the Manhasset.
So then they did.
There's
They
two
might have done the
there's two
study.
different,
Studies
it's
there.
2 different sewer districts, though, that serve Manhasset. There's the Great Neck Water Pollution Control District, which is the one doing the sewer on Blandon. That's DMB. I don't know if Manhasset has another.
D&B might have done the
Sewer.
engineering services, but maybe they didn't study. Cameron might have done the
Maybe.
study.
Maybe.
Right, because they're specifically saying sewer feasibility studies.
Yeah, right, so.
And they didn't get the
Right.
final job that DMV got.
So does it make sense to call any of these people? Are they writing reference checks?
I mean, how urgent is it that we,
It's not urgent, it's just something we've been talking about for years.
should we get some references?
Should we get references though from some of these, like 3
Peter,
references?
or if one of you, who's more expert, or Peter wants to call the references.
Well, we have villages here. We
Yeah.
can call a couple of villages.
Right.
Yeah, just to
I think it's
see if
worthwhile.
they, yeah.
If anything, it will give us a comfort level, or it'll at least say, okay, you're great, but you look out for one thing, this is what you need to manage. So, I mean, we could find that obviously at any point, but I think it just feel better to do it.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Do you want to hold it to the next meeting or make it subject to?
Why don't we hold it to the next meeting?
As long as it's not a critical thing that we have to submit or
the study?
We'd,
We've waited
it's,
this long,
it's
another,
better to,
another month.
Another month or so.
it's better to get the funding committed now because there's been a
I mean,
change in our state.
Should we reach out to
Person.
DMV and to H2M and
We
just
have
say,
that.
hey, why, any reason why you didn't respond?
Why is he needed respond?
Yeah.
They wrote to me and told me they were not gonna put it in the bid.
So what about H2M and
I
Leland?
didn't send it to them, I mean, it's.
I mean, we could call them and ask them why they,
Why they didn't?
yeah.
I mean, it's a public
retribution.
bid.
H2M.
We've done our due
No,
diligence. I think we've done.
need
due diligence.
retribution.
Maybe, but they were also way more expensive a few years ago. They were
Well-
in the stratosphere
Right.
as they were with the MS4 thing, so.
Okay.
So
Did
technically,
we,
this is a
did we talk
consultant.
to
One at a time.
Nelson and Pope? Did we talk to VHB? I don't know who else would be doing sewer study? Or that we were just kind of,
Any of the civil engineers do.
okay.
I'm just.
I think we
thinking
should
about-
just do the follow-up on these guys.
So since it's professional services, it's not the same as bidding for supplies or for vendors. So by the state rule, if we send out an RFP and only get one response, we're not obligated by law to have to go out again.
No.
So maybe we just check references and see, how these people,
If we do hold the budget with them at 87,000, what happens to the $3,000? We don't get it? In other words, do we only get what we can be reimbursed for?
Yes.
I would think we would be, right.
I mean, I'm excited that we don't have to spend any
Right.
village taxes
Yeah.
on this. That's like a key thing, and that's what prevented us from moving forward. last
so
time.
even if someone else comes in at 65, it doesn't matter to us. It's not like it's our money.
Is
It's
this
not-
negotiable? Like, unlike a bid of work, construction work, is this negotiable? Especially that only one guy? Like, if we said, well, can you do it for
But
83?
you have to remember, they came in last time almost at the same price. And they would have won that bid last time anyway. So it's still,
It kind of doesn't even
Sure,
benefit
yeah.
us though, because if they say 83, it's like, okay, 83, it's not like we get the 7,000.
No, but then they're gonna come back with, oh, you want this, change order, trying to create a.
Well, this is a not to exceed.
The village can negotiate with any.
This is a not to exceed, so it may not even be 87,000.
Right,
I think if we just call one or two of these villages and just check with them and say, hey, how
Okay.
was
why
your
don't
experience
we
with them?
find out from them what were the most recent ones they've done? Because I don't think past experience means much. I think recent experience means a lot more. So if we got the ones that they most recently did, like in the last 2-3 years, especially in the last year, I would say, again, because there's been a transition.
all right, we will do that. Next item in your packet is the approval of the Lori Strauss Leukemia Bike Tour in Baywalk on 5/18/25. They are only going to be in a small part of the village.
Stonytown Road.
Stonytown to Port Boulevard.
That's where they always kind of.
Yeah, so this is pretty much stuff we've approved in the past. So I guess I will make a motion to approve the Lori Strauss Leukemia Foundation Bike Tour. Seconded by,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Next one is the Empire State Ride to End Cancer Long Island.
I did that last year.
That one is only gonna touch Stonytown, Port Boulevard, Middle Neck Road, and then it crosses over into Roslyn Estates. And that would be also
It's a
on,
brutal. It was brutal.
yeah, some of these rides are, I mean,
This one was, I did it last year.
you did the full 62?
It was
It's a
brutal.
lot of hills.
Yeah,
Really? I know. That's why you will
Especially
not
that-
see me on it.
Especially that sea cliff. though.
Man.
It's a killer.
It is. All right, so I would like I will make the motion to approve this lovely bike ride. Seconded by
I'll second it. since-
Deputy Mayor Janice, since I know he loves the ride. All in
Even though
favor?
I'm not doing it.
Aye.
Getting too old.
Next, our friends at the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee are asking us to renew their contract. I would like to make a statement about the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee. I am not a fan of them right now. They, I asked them their opinion on the waterfront construction at Roslyn, the Roslyn Village, one that abuts the village property. And I said, don't you have an opinion on this? I don't see Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee getting involved in this at all. And their answer is, we don't make comments on member village projects unless asked for. And I said, well, then what good is the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee if you're not protecting the committee, the harbor, and you're protecting your villages? And I didn't get a good answer from them. So I am really not a fan today of the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee, because if they're beholden to the members, what are they protecting if the member is possibly doing something that's not good for the harbor? And I am going to get off my soapbox right now. So is there anybody here who has any questions or comments about our friends, the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee, that doesn't seem to want to protect the harbor?
So what do we lose by not being part of the Hempstead? Like, what's the
We lose
the downside?
the 12 feet of frontage we have on
Well-
Hempstead Harbor won't get protected.
I believe, and I'm looking either Gary or Marla, I think we get some points for the isn't part of the MS4 application by being in this. So it's kind of like we're,
They do other things other than that, but
right,
I agree with you. That's not all they do.
right. So there are advantages for us with the MS4 to be part of it. But again, I'm not a fan of, and I'll say it again, the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee that's not protecting the harbor.
Well, the forum for doing that is the regular public meetings for Roslyn Village, correct? And anyone can speak for or against that in those meetings.
Right, but Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee doesn't speak at the,
Right,
Roslyn
the
board
committee
meetings.
doesn't speak, right?
no, there might be a member named Gary who might speak on his own, but he is not representing the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee.
Right.
Because they
Well,
have decided,
you could state that you sit on that committee. That doesn't mean you can't represent yourself as an individual.
no, you
Right?
can, but I would think that the committee whose name is the Protection Committee would want to protect the harbor. And they don't even express an opinion on what I consider a important project that's built on the waterfront. They don't even express any opinion.
I suspect they feel, I mean, I don't know, but I would imagine they feel like if they came out against, if they forced, like these other civic associations come in whenever there's a project, maybe you would be just one of many mayors that would say, hey, we shouldn't join this. I don't know. it
Well, there's a
seems like
particular, I mean,
weird-
it gets deeper than that, because one of the members on the committee actually has a conflict of interest
Ah,
because he's the guy
oh,
on the project.
oh,
Oh,
well, that's not good.
Ah.
On Hempstead Harbor Protection?
so Gary, as our representative on this committee, what is your professional
I mean, I
recommendation?
think it's important that we stay engaged in the committee. I think Randall and I should talk about how we talk to Eric about this, because I know you've already had one engagement with him and it didn't get you anywhere, but I think.
No, it did, it got me the answer I'm
Right.
giving you, which I was
And
not
think,
thrilled.
I think what I don't want to do is just say, well, we're just gonna turn away from them. I think it's better to like work through what the issue is and what can be done about the issue and to come to some resolution on that. Because there is I sat in a meeting a month ago, whatever, and I missed the last one. But it's just like, and I know the guy, I know this guy. I spent some time learning about the project because I was curious about it.
Mhm.
So, but it does seem like strange that he's trying to answer questions to the committee, and I don't know if he's being, it's hard to tell.
Wait,
If he's being-
They have civilians on the committee? No, isn't everybody?
He's a representative of, I don't know what position he holds with the village, but he is a representative.
Oh, so he's with the Village of Roslyn.
Ian.
It certainly answers the question as to why a project of that magnitude on the water was not asked to do a secret
But,
review. That's bizarre, in my
well, no, that has nothing to, I'm not sure if that's over. By the way, Michael San is the attorney for the client, so, but,
He has the right to be that.
yeah, sure.
He has no conflict.
Absolutely. I think I've been to 2 meetings now, and the last public meeting I was at, which was, I think, the January meeting,
Mhm.
was a really good meeting. We could learn from the way that John ran that meeting.
Well, we do have representation. Either Jeff or one of his partners have been
Right,
going to those
right.
meetings
So,
to also represent our concerns on the project.
So our planning board would have nothing to do with it. So our PZA.
no, it would be this board.
And Michael San is the.
Hold on.
No, we have nothing, all we can do is voice an opinion of what we think is
Why
right.
is it that I know Andrea? and I can't vote?
Because we're not voting on the Roslyn application.
Oh, we don't have a vote in it?
No, this is Village of Roslyn application. It just happens to abut the village.
Yeah, but I thought we're within 200 feet, don't we get some kind of, or no?
It should be if they're doing a full environmental impact, but somehow it's been waived.
Right. Which is why we keep on sending our village attorney to these meetings. Yes. That's a separate subject.
That's official?
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
Because then we'd have more input.
But isn't there any, that's just
How
for
could that be?
subdivision.
How can you do this project without
We'd
environmental?
have to ask our
Well,
village
he's saying
attorney.
there was one, but we weren't noticed in the village, I mean, I didn't see it in any file.
That there was one done, they've been required to submit additional environmentals, and I will obtain them from the village.
Yeah, wouldn't we be,
Their closest neighbor.
asked to put input into that normally? I mean,
Yeah, we're within 200 feet of.
Within a foot,
We're adjacent.
Well, everything that was sent.
You have to remember, the only way this village found out about this project is I was reading the Nassau County Planning Board agenda.
I remember you
And
said
I saw
something-
that and I
said
said,
something to me.
What? And I found out that even our residents who live nearby were never notified by the village or the applicant. I sent a letter on behalf of the village to all the residents within the 200-foot radius, notifying them of what is being asked. And then they went and spoke to the village, but they never received any notification. Again, if I didn't read the very boring planning agenda, I wouldn't have seen. I'm like, what is this? And
Weird.
this is, yes, there's a lot of weirdness.
I mean, my understanding is if they didn't do proper notice, then the meeting didn't take place.
Right.
I-
Boy, it's, no,
I don't know if anybody brought that up.
We want to verify that first.
All right, back to Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee.
So, anyway,
But I agree with Gary.
We won one of our famous tangents.
You agree with me?
Not to bail, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a bail.
I mean, I don't think now is the time to bail. If you find out that,
they were in cahoots.
yeah, then, right. I mean, I think we can't presume that anything is fishy going on until.
All right, would
That just
someone,
seems strange to me that, in other words,
No,
you join the organization, they won't bother you if you have a contract.
so I asked Eric the question, I said,
Well-
Eric, if I was going to put if we were going to approve a solid waste transfer facility on the one small piece of Flower Hill waterfront property, would you object to that? He said, if you didn't ask us our opinion, we will not express an opinion. I said, so if I'm going to build the worst possible environmental type thing, nightmare, you would say nothing. He goes, you're a member, we would not say anything unless you asked us for our opinion.
And talk about conflict of interest.
Yeah, that's weird.
Listen, so would someone like to make a motion, because I'm not making this motion, to pay our dues for the upcoming year?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'm gonna abstain.
I am also
I'm
going to
gonna
abstain.
too.
Well, that's
Okay, well, then
three.
we don't have to.
Does that not pass then?
So
Not
who's
bad.
the second one to?
I'm
We're
abstaining.
3, 4, and 3 nays.
So wait, you're abstaining
Three
one?
abstention.
three.
I'm abstaining.
Doesn't matter, 3, it doesn't.
You need three to pass.
Yes,
Four to
four.
pass.
We got four to pass. So the reason I am abstaining is because I am not happy with the answer I received about,
Can we
There.
revisit this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm
We can
abstaining 'cause
revisit.
I feel like I don't have enough, like, $5,000, I just felt like.
well, I mean, they've held their fees pretty solid for the
Yeah.
I'm
last.
not debating the money, it's
Yeah.
just the principle, I'm kind of questioning what we're getting out of it, that's all. That's more of my question.
Well, we're getting protection. They're protecting us to be able to do what we want. That's Hempstead Harbor protection. Doesn't mean the harbor protection. It means the members. It should be the Hempstead Harbor member protection.
I guess.
Because if that's what's in fact that, but how can we not buy into the, I mean, I'm very on the fence of this because.
So Gary,
But-
since you are a
But what if,
representative,
if the project is neutral? Just saying it's neutral, it's not negative, it's not positive.
I can't see how any waterfront project, right, building up to the wetlands, that they don't even have an opinion, that they're not part of it as the protection committee, not individual
Right.
members. I just find it odd that they would never even express concern, the same concerns we asked of waterfront access, of water discharge into the harbor. They didn't even ask those
Yeah,
questions.
what is-
They're not even there to ask the
Yeah, what's their
questions.
mission? Like, if their mission statement is to protect the harbor, but they're not going. First of all, it makes no sense because everybody around the harbor is a member. So you can do whatever you want with the harbor.
Yeah, so, but
Unless an individual village or government entity asked for them to provide an opinion.
So if we wanted to build something on the water that we knew was questionable, why would we wouldn't say anything to them. We would just build it.
We would ask them not for their input. But if for some reason, listen, in all transparency, I think every entity that's part of this, if there's a project on their waterfront, they should be asking the protection committee to give an opinion. It's just an opinion. You don't have to follow the opinion, but they should be part of the process. And it seems like they are not part of the process in the village of Roslyn, which is very problematic to me.
Okay.
So why don't you tell Mr. Swenson that as of now, he does not have enough votes, and perhaps either he can come to a future board meeting,
Yeah.
or he can provide us with some documentation as to why his committee is actually protecting the harbor when in this instance they are not. Item next, the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee contract. Huh, surprising. I have no issues with the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee. They seem to be doing very good work protecting the Manhasset Bay.
Yeah, so why are they different? I don't get it. It's like, why are they?
They
Well, let's
are
not go there.
they are much more active. They are working on the lovely is what kind of shellfish are they doing?
Oyster.
Thank you. The oysters to clean the water. They've done a couple of years back. They did one of these trial garbage collectors
Oh, yeah,
that they put on the
remember that thing,
pier.
right.
Yeah, I mean they're a little more active and they do a pretty good job in protecting
And they're cheap.
their bank. And they only won $1,800. So this to me is a no-brainer. So I'm going to make a motion to rejoin the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee, seconded by,
I'll second
all in favor?
Aye.
Can you please let the Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee know, Gary, that this was unanimous? They have someone to achieve and be like. Next, we have the Verizon franchise agreement.
No information.
Okay, so let's not approve the Verizon because we don't have enough
Well, I think
information.
we can improve from my very minimal understanding of how this operates here, is that there's some sort of commission, review and.
Cable
weighing
commission.
it,
Yep.
Something or other. And there was a member of this community that was on that board who wasn't around during the time when they met. And so nobody from our village was there when they were negotiating this contract. I reached out to them, she's not gotten back to me to see what happened with this contract and,
And she is from the Cable Commission,
from Verizon.
from Verizon, sorry. All right, so since I don't have any documentation for you here, then we're going to strike this from the agenda out. Mr. Albinski, the ARC report, please.
Yes, the Architect Review Committee, February 24th meeting, we had 5 applications, 3 returning, 67 Dawson Lane, first and second floor additions and alterations. There was a minor tweak, we had some trim, so that's approved, and before you. 113 Dartmouth, they came back and they complied with the comments that we had, I'm recommending approval on that. 87 Port Boulevard, second time back, still had comments for them and asked them to come back to next meeting. We did offer them an email for distribution prior to the meeting, but that's not approved. From the zoning board, we had 35 Woodhill Lane. Jeff will talk about the zoning issue. It had to do with the aggregate side yard setback that was going up on the second floor, no closer. So they went before us. We did have a number of comments on it and asked them to return to the next meeting. 54 Hewlett Lane. There was a 1- and 2-story additions. There was a couple of minor comments with the railing, and that was approved with that condition.
Is there any questions from the Board of Trustees on these applications? Are there any questions from the public? That being said, no, I would like to make a motion to approve the Architectural Review Committee findings of the February 24th, 2025 meeting. Seconded by, that'd be Trustee Frankel. All in favor?
it. Aye.
Gary will be recusing or something. Yes. Rich, DPW.
You guys got all, I'm sure you got all that, thing before. We got a lot of snow, a little small snowstorms.
Zero.
Claire wants to say so many nice things about the snow removal.
It's incredible. I want to do it.
Yeah, we are the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just timing, you know,
Whatever it is.
but, you know, really right now it's just snow. We're actually not starting to fill potholes. We've already actually done about, I think, as of now, about 64 potholes. We still have about 30 more, something like that.
You get that one on Stony Town by,
We still haven't touched Stony Town. That's tomorrow.
Well, no, you did a little in Stony Town. I saw Elmer. working there on Friday.
that left side, but we gotta go up. We were just waiting for the water. district.
There's that one trouble section that's been for years. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a couple.
There's that one section like,
There's a couple of spots there.
Yes.
no, it's just no matter how many times you fill it.
Are you talking about right at the end of the village, right before we hit Glendale Manor?
As you get closer to Paul Washington Boulevard, between.
It's like right in the middle of the road and a little bit to the left side.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
So this summer,
we tried a big patch, but.
this warmer weather, we're going to investigate using hot patch this year.
Hmm.
We
We
might
just
be
got a
able,
hot box, basically use asphalt, we're just, the hot box helps us out more, because as of right now, what we've been doing is we just put it in the back of our truck, and you have to pretty much use it really quick, or it just hardens.
Yeah, it
The hot
seizes up.
box-
I am working on an IMA with an adjoining village to use their new hot box and their new roller. So that will save us a lot of time and money and effort, and I think we'll be able to affect some roadwork improvements ourselves.
No, the snow removal's great. I mean, it's, you know, the boop, boop, boop at 4 o'clock in the morning is not the greatest thing in the world, but you know, it is kind of comforting.
Well,
It's like, oh, Richie and the guys are here.
it's good to have that beep, beep, beep
Yeah.
noise so they don't run into somebody or something.
Yeah.
Very
No,
important.
it's great.
I will live with that.
I think we always were like the best.
My corner is one of the snow corners, so I hear the beep, beep, beep all the time because they
Mine
always
too.
pile them up on the
Pretty
corner.
well. Yeah.
Doesn't bother me one bit.
Sometimes you guys hear it direct at that time, some people don't even hear us, surprised.
We're light sleepers, I guess.
The only other thing I.
When you drop the
Especially on the bigger truck, yeah, it does.
yeah, that'll wake you up.
The only last thing I forgot to put was that I'm going to the Texas.
Oh yeah, Rich is leaving us. He's going to Texas.
Maintenance School. It's in Waco, Texas.
He's going to be able to learn.
Rico's
all-
nice. I like
He's
it.
going to learn all about maintenance of our street sweeper. And the great thing is, the street sweeper company, the training is free. We just have to pay airfare and hotel for him to get there,
Yeah, don't you,
which is good because this way we can affect some in-house repairs instead of sending things out, which is another great savings for us. Thank you for that, Mr. Blinkoff. BZA report.
Yes, two items. As indicated in the written report, an application for Florence Drive was ultimately denied by the board. And this has been before the board a couple of times, and the variances sought the board to see, which is the detriment to the village would outweigh the benefit to the applicant. The applicant had proposed and already has fencing, for example, along the side and in the front yard. And that is very visible to the surrounding area. And some of the concerns that he was arguing that he needed variances for, the board felt he could address in other ways. He could, for one thing, instead of fencing, he could have shrubs or some other form of greenery. The fencing on the side, he could also just make a little bit less high, and that would have been approved. To the extent that he was arguing that he needed this type of arrangement to preclude trespassers, that's really not the basis for a variance to be granted. And the board, taking into account that this was a substantial request, there were other available alternatives, denied the request. So a written decision was approved, and we'll see if he takes any further appeal as to that. The remaining request that Mr. Obenski's actually already discussed was 35 Woodhill, and the board saw that as a pretty straightforward application. Essentially, all the applicant was doing was putting a second floor on an already existing first floor. They were increasing the footprint of the house, and they were already at the same setback that they have. They're seeking a variance so that they could have a minimum rear yard, a minimum side yard setback of 55.3 feet instead of 60. That's what the footprint has now. This was just adding a second floor. So the board really felt that this was not anything that would cause any detriment to anybody and would provide a benefit to the applicant, so they approved it.
Perfect. Thank you. Mayor's report. I'm actually saying something Rich probably should have said. So the water district, and I would say it was 3 water districts. We had 3 different water districts doing emergency water main fixes in the village. We have Ridge Drive East for Roslyn. We had Stony Town, which would be Port, and then we had Elderfields, which was Manhasset Lakeville. They needed 2 emergency water main repairs. Some of them were pretty bad. There was a lot of water coming out of the ground. Temporary road repairs are made, and the water district will be coming back in warmer weather to do curb to curb repairs, probably April or so, as the road settles and the asphalt is available for them to do it. People are just gonna have to deal with the cones in the road temporarily where they put the temporary patches in. It's the nature of the beast. They have to let the road settle properly before they can come back and fix it. But they won't be doing just bell fixes. It'll be curb to curb, which is good. Sewer study we did. I sent the board, and I'll include in the newsletter, the New York State Department of Transportation Port Washington Boulevard safety upgrade. They are going to be doing the work which we've discussed previously, except they're not going to be adding another lane on Middle Neck Road, nor prohibiting right on red, which is what they wanted to do. They were not able to provide us with any data that would prove that this work would not affect Middle Neck Road traffic, and I think it would, because we have cherrywood dumping out there, we have school buses making turns. Without right on red there, that road would become a nightmare during the commute time. So they're not going to be doing that work. However, they are going to be putting some safety improvements. They're going to put a sidewalk on the east side of Port Boulevard where the bus stop is, so that people going to the bus will be able to have somewhere safe to wait. And they are going to be putting a walkway through our 2 traffic islands to connect across Middle Neck Road on Port Boulevard. So I know we want to do some work there. I think we're going to wait until the state does their work, because whatever beautification we might do, they would probably destroy. So we're going to see what kind of walkways they are going to put in. They're going to be putting enhanced, I think the crosswalk with the signals and everything. They're doing a lot of work, which is great. They're going to be extending the queuing lines to get into the hospital to allow more cars to get in the queue instead of blocking Port Boulevard. It's good stuff. They're adding a turn lane to the hospital when you're heading south on Port Boulevard. They're going to be putting a turn lane in off of Oak Tree, and I think a turn lane in off of, is that Crabtree? Crabtree. So it's good safety stuff. Look at the pictures and see what they're adding, and I'd say do a Google Earth Village. Crabapple, sorry. Damn crabs.
Crabtree's in Muncie Park.
Well, we had a Crabtree by me.
We
I
had
always
Crabtree
get, I get confused with crabs.
Are
Look
the
at, look,
residents over there gonna be okay with this, or are they gonna be wildly suspicious of?
it's just,
They have
it's,
access.
it's adding safety to get out of
I
the
agree.
streets.
I just-
It's
Thinking
all
ahead.
good stuff.
Oh, construction's already started.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, this is something that started back.
shut down Paul Washington Boulevard.
This is something that started back with Mayor Phillips when she was working with the state on safety. So you can see how long it takes these projects to happen. That was a pretty long time ago when Elaine first started meeting with the state on how to make the whole intersection safer. So yeah, there's no sneakiness or secrets, and people can think that as much as they want, but there's nothing to worry about at this point. It's all good stuff. We've been very on top of it. Webster Avenue, Long Island Railroad Bridge. It's in process. Stony Town Road water well. We're hoping by the fall they will be done with the outside structure so that we can work with them on replanting the hillside that goes into the park.
When you're in the park, that thing is massive.
Yes, it is.
It's gonna be like a 10-story house.
They're required to put that above, what did he say? Some sort of water
Because
line.
water, yeah, because it has to be above the.
And that's why it's so high. But with the building, I think it's gonna look great. I mean, the building, it's a nice.
Big building. And how are they doing the gable roof over those giant tanks?
You've seen the
I
drawings.
wondered the same thing.
You've seen the drawings.
I think the drawing's deceptive. When you look at that drawing,
I
there's
don't
no
know.
Because that was
way.
huge.
There's no way.
D&B. Come on, D&B.
Yeah, the solid architecture department. Yeah.
No, I'm a little concerned that they didn't get far enough in the project now, just hoping we'd plant in the spring.
Yeah.
But
It's taking
it-
forever
it's-
to do this.
they've had some delays. It'll be safer
It's been already
to do
over a year.
plantings in the fall. So that's the goal right now.
Oh, it's been at least a year. hasn't
It's
it?
been longer.
It's
Yeah.
been over a year.
It's been some issues. What else do I want to talk about? Stuff in my mayor's newsletter, not all that stuff exciting. And lastly, I will be putting the newsletter because Ms. Wolfson asked me to. I am requesting that our residents try to do their best to park their vehicles on the same side of the street as
Or they
other
have
Yeah,
vehicles.
it's
There's no way to enforce it.
It's terrible. The construction.
We have, if you have a party or if you're having people workers or your cars, some of our streets are a little tight and it would behoove everybody to try to park on one side of the street if you can, just for safety and to keep traffic flowing and so that people don't get, what Marley, give me
And
the
that's
look.
all out for emergency vehicles. On some of the streets,
There's no way you get,
No
yeah,
way.
like on Wood
Yeah.
Valley when they park on both sides, I barely can get my car.
Traffic flow, emergency vehicle access, street cleaning and visibility. So go. That is the end of my mayor's report. Trustees report. Anything to report?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
Beautification.
Thank you.
So we met, Rich and I, with Kevin, Natalie, the landscape architect, and is it Steve? Steve from Cutting?
Yeah, Steve.
And we did a tour of many of the sort of the first tier islands that we're looking at to do the cleanup work, which would include ripping out unnecessary things, especially like dealing with some ivy on tree trunks and limbs. Also maybe moving some things, pruning trees and some tree removals. One of the tree removal areas that we should all get on the same page on is by the, where the National Grid work that you mentioned, by Ridge Drive West. Is that a National Grid project? No?
I talked about Ridge Drive had some water. There was
Well,
water.
I thought wasn't there a National Grid project? that
The
we-
new gas updates, remember? They come with
Oh,
the gas
I'm
updates.
sorry.
And that island you said we wanted to do.
yes, by Ridge, where the two ridges meet each other. Yes.
Yes, right.
I'm sorry. Yes.
So the median section,
Mhm.
that's where they're looking to do some work, but I didn't want to do that if we were gonna be not in line with what the National Grid work was. So we need to understand what a schedule may be in that. Do we know?
No, we don't. We don't have a schedule, but we can discuss. I don't think any of their work is meant to disrupt any of our trees or vegetation, but I can't guarantee that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I just, the timing, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Rich is
so-
better in contact with them, but it's eventually upcoming, but they're usually very vague.
Yeah.
Well, we should, whenever we find that out, we'll want to understand because that seems to be a bigger area that we can focus on in terms of what may be the work that we eventually want to do there.
Right.
So it's kind of growing into a bigger thing than
Okay.
sort of like these regular maintenance things. So anyway, Steve, has he come back with anything?
Yeah, he gave the quote already.
Okay.
Estimate.
Okay, so we have a quote, which we'll want to review in terms of getting that into the budget, understanding what that means to the budget. Also, Kevin has one of his staff people working on doing some basic layouts of what an island may look like, a shade island, a full sun island kind of thing.
And in between, yeah, good.
So I'll have to follow up to find out where he is on that.
Okay. That's great. I think it's good
So
to have
maybe-
like a benchmark island, so we have similar look, similar plantings throughout the village.
So we're focusing on the Bayberry median, which was
How
the
this
group
whole
that
thing
originally
started.
started all this.
Yep.
We're focusing on, obviously, the middle neck islands, which now we got information from Rich in terms of what DOT is proposing there. I don't know if we were able to, I don't know what connection we have there, if at all, at DOT. But they're doing work that would affect the curves. Because they gotta do ADA compliant curb cuts, if you will, to
Yes.
get the sidewalk in. So by definition, they're doing some curb work. If we could get them to do additional curb work, I don't know. But, it's kind of like it's that our side of the island, if you will, not, it's not, it's in our right of way rather than their right of way. So I don't know if there's some way we can manage to work out a deal with them. While you have the guy here doing curb work, can we look to repair these or, I don't know, whatever.
How do we do that?
I don't know, reach out and say,
All right,
we can do that.
so we've
And
now
then,
appointed Marla as the liaison on that part of the project.
and then, what was the other one? Country Club, this one.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
those were the three. And we're also looking at the intersection of Center and Northern Boulevard, where the two corners,
The two corners are center.
that which needs a lot of clean out on ivy. There's a ton of ivy growing.
Yes, and Kevin and the crew did a lot of ivy removal in the fall. Was it the fall when you guys were doing it? Because I was pulling some with Kevin. It was in the fall. But yes, there's a lot of ivy there.
And there's weird things growing within the U's and.
Unfortunately, Northern Boulevard is like a conduit of that evil ivy that if you see it's growing up all the trees in
Yeah.
the state right away.
Yeah.
It just,
Right,
it's,
it's endless, it's endless.
and the worst part is once we clear it out, it'll come back again. Yes. All right, excellent.
All right.
Marla, is there anything you want to talk about beautification?
No, I just want to clarify, Bayberry, Middleman,
Country Club
Country Club.
and Port Washington.
Center.
And then I guess the next layer is I saw the Brian and Cooper,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if I'm taking the money, I have to do it.
Yeah, so,
So why don't you speak to that?
That's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
So what I'm clarifying the center.
so
that's what
we were going to stay clear of that because of the National Grid whole thing, but if we can just do that island at Northern Boulevard, even if it's just with whatever,
Mhm.
Not necessarily the permanent, but some interim plan, even if it can be that easy, simple.
Does it make sense I know we don't know when the timing is for the crosswalk, to at least plant grass or put something there?
On the middle.
So we don't have to look at dirt?
They say the summer, but that's the state saying something.
Right, so who knows, could be fall. So how much does it cost to plant some grass seed or sod those? Maybe sod is more expensive, but, I mean, not to leave it just as mud, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Speak to Rich on
I
that.
mean, the grass is gonna be tough to grow since we
Yeah.
have one.
Well, I'm throwing that out as a something, there's gotta be something that we could put
We
there.
can
So we
put
don't have to look at
the
2
drought,
years
the
of
drought
dirt.
tolerant,
Can you,
the drought tolerant,
Like Pachysandra or something.
well, not, no,
Grows like
that'll
that.
get roasted.
Hold on, Pakistan.
No, the liriope stuff or,
Yeah, Not
some
looking
grass.
to spend a lot of, they've already said they pay for it, but just to have them, they're not gonna wanna look at dirt until, so if they say the summer, who knows if it's gonna be the summer, right?
But we gotta pull out some of the stuff. We had a bunch of tulips there. You saw some trucks or something that went through both of them. They destroyed everything again that we just put there. Well, the tulips at least that we did plant.
all right, Rich, why don't we look into some sort of temporary something on top of remulching it that we can do to kind of
Spruce it up.
do some sort of temporary, that's water resistant.
Mhm.
But Marla, do you want to talk about, because I don't think the whole board knows about,
Oh, no, you're right, the whole board doesn't know.
yeah, it's a
So-
secret,
So far,
unsecreted.
we have the hospital and now we had Brian.
Well, tell them what this whole,
Sponsor.
I don't think everybody even knows what you're talking about.
The sponsor meeting, I sent out to the business community. I sent out just an initial mail and, well, the hospital had already, previous to that, signed on, and then Brian Cooper called last week and they're gonna take the one on, next to Dunkin' Donuts, not the one directly in front of Dunkin' Donuts, but the one that has the Flower Hill sign.
So we do the work, they pay for it.
Correct.
And we also, from the
Do we get a plaque
Qmon,
or something?
Yeah, they get like the signage in there.
Qmon also, I believe, right?
Humana
How
Express
much does
says
it
they
cost?
did not get back to me, but now I just gave away that item. So-
How much does it cost for people to?
I mean, I'm really winging
It's-
it this year and I'm telling them all that because it's very loose. I have no numbers. And so, given that it was 8,000 for the two at the hospital, I told them 2,500 for that one, just based on its size. I mean, I'm literally making up as I was on
And two
the
of
phone.
them.
So, but with the understanding that next year when I have some real costs associated with it, then we'll
Yeah.
charge them
Okay.
accordingly.
So that's great. Thank you, Marla, for securing new revenue stream for us.
We'll see, I'll bring more.
Do we recognize their contribution? or-
Yeah, they get a
They
little
get
sign.
a little, they get signage in the,
Yep.
in the island.
Once we execute, I'll put it in the newsletter and all that other stuff once we move forward on it. So we will,
The other thing that we have to think about, speaking of signs, is particularly an issue on Country Club Drive sign.
Oh my
Or
God.
Island is, like, the signitis that we have there. I mean, there's so many signs there. I was talking to Rich the other day. We need to think about how to better organize it, because it's just that chaos of all the signs that we got there.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
I'm always turning left and not looking over there.
So we have the money and then Kevin is working on plans for, if we identified the islands we're starting with or not.
Yeah,
And,
Kevin is working on those plans.
okay, and so,
Those three, now four.
right. And for a spring planting, is that right?
Limited, I mean, we don't want to put anything that we think is not going to survive the summer.
No, I know.
So it'll be the short term for spring and long term in the fall.
So I will give you the names of the people on our committee. Would you please correspond with them, unless we're gonna have a meeting with them to tell them where we are? Or should we wait until after the budget meeting?
I think we should just say we're in the budgeting stage at this point.
Then the what?
We're in a budgeting stage with the board at this point.
Right, which
And
will
once
be
we get a
over,
budget,
well,
we'll,
that'll be over next week, I think, and then it's March and then it's April.
we need ambassadors.
I think we need to, look, we need to tell them something. We can't just ignore them.
so send them an update, Gary.
Okay.
Excellent.
I gotta fix the problem.
What?
Okay. Any other trustee reports?
No, but I have a question. Richie, like on Birchdale, right past my house in front of Greg, and it seems like every year, National Grid digs up that entire street, is there for like 3 days and it patches the entire street. And then it's like the third time they've done it in like 2 years.
Mm.
Well, the
What's
other
going
house-
on under
The
there?
other house wanted now gas service.
So we do have a moratorium for our roads when we pave them. We have a 2-year moratorium, which is why Marla is going to be sending an email to Ridge Drive West, Overhill, Crabtree, a little bit of Sycamore, Greenway, and Peachtree,
Mm.
letting them know that there's a plan in place in the upcoming months, and that if anybody wants to open the road for whatever reason, they better do it now, or we're going to enforce our 2-year moratorium, because we don't want a beautifully paved road to get ripped. But in the case of what's happening by you, they've
Seems like they're
It's
always digging out.
but they keep on coming back and bringing it back to good.
Yeah, no,
curb. They do a very
curb to curb.
They do a
which
very
is
good job
nice.
fixing it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Did a
excited.
great job on Elderfields.
Yeah.
After they ripped it apart.
Oh yes, and then now we have the new water
We have
Problems.
2 big bell holes
Right.
there now.
that they'll have to fix. But listen, it's the nature of the Beast, you want to have water? Got to rip up the road. Sometimes you want to have gas, got to rip up the road. But yes, Frank, I'm sure once they pave, someone else will rip that. corner
just
of my-
notice.
Gotta
It's like
evolve to
always-
get away from this water.
It's always the same place.
It's always the same place. All right, no other questions. We'll see the community on April
Next week.
3rd or April 7th? No, I'm just thinking when the Board of Trustees meeting is in April.
Oh, it's
April
April 7th,
3rd.
it is not April. There you go, that was my mistake.
Yeah,
What?
Marla, we thought we can get through, it's April 7th. I'm like, I know it's not.
It did sound right.
So we'll see each other next week. I'll see Frank tomorrow, and then I'll see some of you next Friday. And thank you, everybody.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, yes.
Who's seconding?
I'll second.
Max, seconded.
Thank you.
I,
Well, that building on Northern Boulevard is on LoopNet. A third of it is up for lease. With 6,000